Alright, this is SSLFamilyDad with Simple Suburban Living, and today I'm going to take you into the aquaponics system and show you what a nitrogen deficiency looks like. Alright, so what does a nitrogen deficiency look like on paper? Well, I've got this deficiency chart that I've showed you guys in previous videos that I keep down here, and I use this thing all the time. It's not exact science, it's more of a kind of, you're looking for visual cues at these things, but you can do some chemical tests in the water and things like that as well to verify some of these, and also see what reacts to adding nutrients and things like that. So this thing is an excellent place to start, and again, as always, I will put a link to this in the description, as someone shared this with me, and I hope to share it with anyone else watching. So what does a nitrogen deficiency look like? Well, right here at the bottom, stunted growth, extremely pale color, upright leaves with light green yellowish, and appear burnt in an extreme deficiency. Basically, things will start to die. Nitrogen is like the #1 nutrient that most green plant vegetation needs to grow, and something that should be, obviously, in an aquaponics system, the core of your system. You should not see a nitrogen deficiency in your system if you have a good population of fish and your system's established and you're feeding them regularly and all that kind of good stuff. But if you're starting off your system, this is something that most people struggle with, as well as your fish are getting growing in size, and maybe you've overplanted your grow beds. You have too many plants and not enough fish. This is definitely something you can see as well. So I'll show you what it looks like in the actual plants. I've got lots of examples of this going on right now. But the system that I have here, I had some kind of disease set in with the fish, or some type of a water quality issue that I wasn't able to identify, and slowly over the last about 9 months ago it started, and I just never kind of stopped. Fish started dying, and I had set about 75 goldfish at the beginning of the year, and my last goldfish died just a couple weeks ago. And so something that I'm going to address when I do a redesign on the system here in the coming weeks. I've got plans to start that very soon for those of you who've been waiting. But back to the nitrogen deficiency. So what you're looking at here is some very sad looking pepper plants. You'll see a couple different things in the shot that you're looking at. Pale and burnt looking leaves, that's one of the signs of a nitrogen deficiency. Stunted growth is another one, and just things flat out dying. Aquaponics, the only way you're going to kill things is if you have a nitrogen deficiency. Honestly, things will stay alive. They won't look the greatest if you don't have any other nutrients in the water, but nitrogen is key, and so if you start to get deficient in nitrogen, you'll definitely see things starting to die off. So a few weeks ago, this started happening, and a lot of these leaves are just completely dead. But you'll also notice, for instance here, I've got some flowers. A lot of pollen coming off those ones, actually. I don't know if you can see it in that shot. But and some new green leaves here, and some other things that are, these are new growth. And I started to supplement the system because I have no fish. I have had no fish in here for a couple weeks now, and I don't plan to have any more fish in here for a few more weeks. And so I'll be supplementing, and I'll show you what I'm using, and kind of talk a little bit about that. But these plants are starting to rebound, and they will rebound. The dead leaves will fall off, and the plants will kind of regain health and vigor and start producing more peppers for me. I can already see a few little ones that are started on the back there and other places. So I'll show you a few of the other plants as well and what they look like. So I think this is one of the best examples. This is cilantro, and you can see here these leaves on the bottom. They're all spotted. They're pale for sure. Burnt edges is another one of our deficiency signs of a nitrogen deficiency, and just pretty much straight out looking unhealthy. Some of them are just dying right off. But then you can see in the middle here, after I started supplementing, we've got some real nice green, and it smells real good after you just touch it, cilantro leaves in here, and this is what they should look like. And that's all that new growth since I started supplementing. So this is a clear sign and a clear way to tell, you know, what your deficiency is too. If you're nitrogen deficient and you start supplementing and you see, you know, all the new growth looking really healthy like that, then you pretty much can be sure that you've hammered down the problem. In my system, again, I'm going to be supplementing for the next few weeks. This will be kind of an artificial system. It's more like a hydroponic system in a way right now. It's kind of a combination of hydroponics and aquaponics. It's aquaponics without the fish, but things are growing much better as well. I've got rosemary and basil. I actually had a basil plant that died completely with the nitrogen deficiency. It wasn't able to come back, but everything else came back really well. So I'll show you how the kale looks. Okay, so the kale took quite a hit also with the nitrogen deficiency. This is one of those plants that does suck up nitrogen quite a bit, being it's a leafy green. But it's coming back really nicely, and I can see a whole bunch of new growth. And just a kind of a thing about kale, I don't know if I've mentioned before, you know, you can see some of these, they do, when they get out of the light, and this was actually another leaf was covering this up right here, and so you can see where it just turns brown. That's not a deficiency, that has to do with it just being covered up by light. But you can see the new growth here looks really good. And also, see if I can zoom you in a little bit. So you can see up here, you've got a new shoot coming out, and I don't know if you can see, there's some tiny little shoots here as well. This whole, I just chopped the top of this trunk off, and as soon as you chop the top off of this kale, it'll start reproducing leaves all the way down this stem. So this is really one of those plants that you can kind of get a continual growth out of, and once it's established and it's got good root structure, it will just keep on growing. I should have cut these off shorter, but I just kind of let it go. And what we do is we just take the biggest leaves off and use those in smoothies and different things that we use kale for, you know, salads and things like that. So it'll also, I'll try to move you down here. I usually like to do this on camera, but why not? So you can see right from the bottom there we've got a shoot coming out, and so this stuff will just continually grow. I don't know how long. I'm going to try to keep it growing in here as long as possible, but you know, this is a really big producer for us, the kale. So even while I'm supplementing the system with no fish in here, everything is still growing and rebounding very well. Okay, so if you're starting a new system, as I mentioned earlier, or you don't have enough fish, or maybe you just have a bunch of fingerlings, you know, real small fish, and you've overplanted your system, you'll notice that things start to look just like this. Burnt leaves, really stunted growth, really slow growth. Obviously, you should have one of the API master test kits, and you should be testing your nitrate levels and ammonia levels and things like that. You should have a residual amount of nitrates in the water. It might be very low, but you should be able to detect nitrates in the water. Maybe if you feed the fish and come back 3 or 4 hours later, you should be able to still have some nitrates in the water. If you don't, step up your feeding a little bit. Think about getting more fish if you're, you know, doing goldfish or something like I did. If you just have tilapia fingerlings or some other fingerling, you gotta, you know, wait till they get bigger and just keep feeding them as much as you can. So you can also supplement the system. Now, if you have fish in the water, this is a very tricky subject. Regular old, no, you know, cheap brand, whatever, ammonia is fine to put in the system. But if you have fish in there, you got to be careful. Put a very little bit at a time. Make sure you mix it into your sump tank, not in your fish tanks. This stuff is toxic for the fish. But once it gets through your grow beds and the nitrifying bacteria take care of it, it'll eat it right up and turn it into nitrates for you. But you got to be really careful. You want to add just maybe capful at a time, come down every hour, add a capful or something like that each day for a couple hours a day or something. You'll have to experiment. It just depends on how well your system is set up and your nitrifying bacteria and all that good stuff. When you're starting your system out, before you get fish, use this. Add, you know, a 1/4 cup of ammonia in the system. The next day come down, test the system for ammonia, and if it's all gone, or when it is all gone, if you keep doing that each day, then you know that your nitrifying bacteria are in full swing and that you're safe to put your fish in there. This will, you know, this is the best way to get started. If you just throw your fish in here right off the bat, you're going to have a lot of dead fish, you know, when you're first starting your system. So this is the way to cycle your system to get it started. You can also, if you put plants in your system right away, you know, keep adding your ammonia every day, and watch your plants and see how they respond. And once they start, you'll notice a big difference, because the nitrates in the system are going to make a huge difference for your plants. So once they start growing really well, then you know your system's well established and you're ready for fish. So just a few tips and tricks and something that I'm doing here. I know I haven't done an aquaponics video in a while, so for those of you guys who are following along with the system, I do apologize for that. This is something I've just been kind of waiting, because I've got a lot of video stuff planned for aquaponics coming up. And you guys will be sick of aquaponics videos by the time the year is out, I think. But so look forward to those videos coming out pretty soon. I'm going to start to, I've got new fish tank ideas and new swirl filter ideas, new sump tank ideas. I'm going to be kind of redesigning the system a little bit, making it better from what I've learned over the last couple years, and sharing that stuff with you guys as well. So questions or comments, guys, throw them down below. I'll end the video just with kind of a couple shots of some of the other plants that we have in here, show you what's going on with the grow beds a little bit more. And there's nothing to show you in the fish tanks right now because they're empty, so no fish to show you today, but we'll get that again fixed up later on. So as always, guys, check us out on Facebook. I'd love to have you guys follow along. Instagram, Pinterest, Twitter. We put all kinds of different things out there, so I'd really love to have you guys just check the description, click on those links, and you can follow us in those ways. You'll really get a better idea what's going on over here, and we do a lot more behind the scenes than we do just on the YouTube channel. So as always, guys, thanks for watching. Have a good one.